So 2 things I wanted to throw at you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see a weird disparity in swing state polls. There was a Times poll that came out yesterday, had Trump doing really well in the Sun Belt, but today we've got this other slew of polls that has Kamala doing well in the swings.
Who'd that come from?
The Today poll, I read this before.
USA Today Suffolk?
Yeah, no, it was a Spotlight PA Mass Inc. poll.
I tell you what, Jimmy.
Thank you.
No offense against the Spotlight poll, but if you're handing that to me, I'm putting that right in the garbage can. I have no idea what their methodology is.
Thank you. So, great point. I know. It's like, this is a poll from I'mWithHer.net. Come on. What are we doing here?
That's funny, actually.
So this is all horse sense now, and it's kind of what piggybacks off of gambling and the conversation we're having about intuition and everything in between. Okay. Going into this election, which we are exactly 6 weeks from now.
Bingo.
The known is, the Trump folks are showing up. They're showing up. They ride with him, come hell or high water, ride or die. They're going to be there. I almost consider his support the more known quantity at this point than hers, because her thing is new. Okay, in that this has kind of been a manufactured momentum for her that may or may not have caught on.
The switcheroo?
Yeah.
It may or may not. You're right. We don't know yet.
That's what I'm saying. So as I sit here right now, this is pure speculation. I have nothing to go on other than the fact that we're guessing. If you believe she's going to win, it's based on nothing more than a guess. We've seen some indicators in the polls, but the polls have been wildly unreliable when it comes to Trump.
Here's what I would say about this, and I think this is value added for your listeners. In 2016, they underestimated Trump's support. They did it again in 2020. Now, I'm told by some of the leading pollsters that they've compensated for that this time around. So they've changed a little bit of the
methodology, or
a
something,
little bit,
sample sizes.
If you do an online poll, chuck it.
Yeah,
it
means nothing.
It doesn't mean anything. And for a long time, what the pollsters want is they want a human being on the other end of the line.
Yeah.
But now you've got a fraction or a percentage, not a fraction, a percentage of the election public or the polling public who they don't want to talk on the phone.
Yeah.
So it forces the pollsters to go to text message.
Yeah.
So that's a change. And we won't know whether or not they're getting it right.
Yeah.
Until November 5th or November 6th. That's just something to keep in mind. The other thing I'm going to say is that we believe, our polling unit, that Trump's support on the floor is 48%. And on the ceiling, it's 50.
Okay.
It's not 51.
Yep.
It's not 47. It has always fluctuated between 48 and 50%. All right, so if on election night he's at 48, she's got a chance to be at 48.5.
Yeah.
In some of these battleground states.
Okay, but that's interesting insight right there. Bill Hemmer in studio, breaking it down like only he can. And I dig the whole online poll thing, because the only person who still comments on them is Mark Robinson. But stick with me. Hold on a second. There it is. He's got Carolina jokes. Stick with me. Back on message here. So that's the thing it comes down to, though, for me, is when I'm looking out right now, I believe that we are all just buy the ticket, take the ride. It'll be November 5th before we know how any of this stuff checks out.
I agree with that.
And I almost think it's reckless to make a concrete prediction before then, in the sense that you are doing it based largely on your own speculation.
A couple of things here I would also add. A week from tonight, you're going to have a vice presidential debate. I don't know if it's going to move the meter or not, but nobody knows Tim Walz. Let's see how he does. Nobody really knows J.D. Vance. Let's see how he does. I think Vance has done pretty well in previous debates. Well, show it. He's got this big brain. Well, show it.
Yeah. Make some plays.
Yeah, and so you're 42 days and you're counting this down, and you're going to hear so much about Pennsylvania. You're going to know where the counties are.
We're going to work our own board this year. Look at Hemmer pining for a lighter sentence. He wants a DIY board this time around. Hey, give me this. If Kamala's trying to get another debate in this, how much of that is posturing? How much of that is them wanting one?
No clue.
Okay.
I think you could cut it either way. I don't, some of the really smart guys pay attention not to the public polling, but the internal polling. Think about the internal polling. So whether you're Harris or whether you're Team Trump, you've got your own numbers. And I don't know what was that, MySpace.com? What was that? What was that? Spotlight. Sorry.
PA, Mass.
I guarantee you the Spotlight Mass thing is not making it to the inner workings of either campaign.
Are you telling me the Wisconsin Watch poll? It's not.
I don't want to defame them publicly. I mean, they could be entirely legit, but I just can't say I've heard of them before.
BadgersKegstand.edu.
Oh my gosh.
It says they have their finger on the pulse of the beer tap. So I know I asked that because
the Badgers are going to determine who wins in Wisconsin.
Fair.
Because it's Dane County.
Yep.
It's Madison. It's a big old blue spots down there in the south central part of the state.
That's where it all goes down. Bill Hemmer's in studio. Because I hear, and this was trending yesterday. It was like, Kamala presses for CNN debate. But everybody peddling that narrative conveniently omits the fact that Trump did agree to a Fox News debate with our Brett and Martha that Kamala has no interest in doing. Yeah. So I think part of this is posturing. Because I think if they create a public perception that, Trump doesn't even want to debate, I think in a weird way it might help them with the fact that they're not being very open with the media in the sense that they've done fewer interviews than anybody. I mean, you're watching a prevent defense. Yeah. So I can't tell if they think they're winning and they're running out the clock or they think internally they're behind and that's why they want another debate. That's the guess.
One thing I'd add on this is that they throw it out there. They make it public. Maybe Trump hits the bid.
Yeah.
Because that's what Biden did in mid-May and Trump hit the bid. And they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You think about this now. You make all these political decisions, running a campaign. You're making a ton every day. Yeah. Where you go, where you see, what your message is, et cetera, how you calibrate this and that. Trump calibrated that Biden was going to be the guy regardless and hit the bid for a late June debate.
Yeah.
The earliest in presidential history. And what happened? He knocked him out.
You think about that.
He and his campaign were convinced that Joe Biden was going to go to the tape in November.
Yes, they were.
And they guessed wrong. Had he...
I know.
Had he waited...
Till post-convention, which you traditionally do.
I'll see you in September.
Yep. And it just imagine where we are if that first presidential debate actually happens after the DNC.
And I think if she wins on November 5th, that will be a marker that most analysts will look back and go, wow.
Yep.
You made that call.
Yep.
And look where it got you.
Man, oh boy, oh man, Hemmer. It is, there's a lot of armchair quarterbacking going on in the NFL.
I love the numbers, right?
Yeah.
Dane County that I mentioned there in 2022, what percentage of the voting public just in that county voted Democrat?
In Dane County?
In Dane County.
I believe it's above 80, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right. 89%.
Oh, my. Come on, man.
It's bumping up against 90%.
Oh, man. No, that matters. So, listen, the Trump man's going to have to get out there and make a couple of plays. But in my head, this is completely speculative. Like if we're at the track morning of and the horses are galloping.
Yeah.
I think he's up one or even. That's what I think now.
Okay, you might be right about that. One thing they're doing that they really did not do in 2020, I know he has a certain disdain for it, but you got to understand the way people vote in 2024.
Yeah.
And they're pushing the early voting. And, I during the summer when I was watching, I was like, guys, what gives here? Even that convention in Milwaukee, they really never talked about it. But they're fully on board now, as you saw from the rally in Long Island last week.
Strong Island, where the home of I'll tell you two fun facts and we'll let you go. Okay, of course, the New York Islanders won 4 Stanley Cups there, which is significant.
That's correct.
But the Nassau Coliseum was the concert that Elvis was supposed to play when he went back out on the road. August 16th of 1977. He never quite made it to the airport.
No kidding.
But he was supposed to fly up and play the Coliseum.
He was going to be in Nassau County.
It's right down the block from where I grew up.
I did not know.
Strong Island.
Wow. Elvis Presley and Eddie Westfall.
Yeah. The King.
Number 18.
Yeah, the King could have been hanging out at Eisenhower Park. He could have been living it up. He never made it to Borelli's for the pasta. But in another life. So, Hammer, we leave off where we began.
The
Bengals,
please hit me.
Hang in there, man. I know statistically 0-3 is a bad place to be.
Thank you. Who do they play next week?
I don't even have the answer to this.
Yeah. So I live a week at a time.
Well, you do.
Because I've learned, when you're in the cellar for so many years, that you just don't.
I'm giving it to you. Hold on. If you were looking it up. Here you go. Week 4. The Panthers.
On the road.
Against Easy Andy Dalton.
1:00 on Sunday.
Oh, man, would Andy
Dalton's
like to
revenge
would he like to give it to the Bengals?
Damn.
Damn, come on.
Whoa. What's the line on that?
I'll tell you right now. Don't you move.
Panthers are getting 4.5.
Yeah, they are. So do you lay the point? Can I tell you the number one rule of betting the NFL?
Yeah, please.
You never lay points on the road. It's not to say you can't win that game.
What do you mean?
You're not supposed to bet
you don't-
favorites on the road. Home teams cover in the NFL.
Oh, wow, look at
about
you.
65% of the time.
Slick,
That's a
Jimmy.
thing to know. Home underdogs of 3 points or less are actually the most profitable bet you can make in the NFL.
I dig it.
So, in theory, okay, this line is above 3, 4.5. But oftentimes you find yourself betting the season, meaning, well, if they lose, they go to 0-4. It actually is over, probably, statistically speaking. And you don't want to be on the side of a team that's betting its season because those teams do lose. Teams that are supposed to go all the way, have a propensity of blowing sky high. So I wouldn't bet it, but I do know your heart will have some currency invested.
Okay, I appreciate that, but I don't bet. I don't gamble.
Yeah.
I just cheer to win because I want to see my team do well, and they
Well, there's that.
put me in a bad